This program is brought to you by Bible Way Media, overseen by the elders of the Chipman Road Church of Christ in Lee Summit, Missouri.
It was only a few days ago when I was talking with a few people at the church building. One man in the group is one of our best song leaders, so it really probably wasn't surprising that the subject of conversation turned to discussing our favorite hymns. Some of the titles, the great ones, were tossed around. Our God, He is alive, and Blessed Assurance. And someone had to mention that song, a song that we sang every service when one of our elderly song leaders led the song service. When he stood at the front and he began to announce the songs, we knew it would happen. Everyone was waiting because it was going to happen. Without a doubt, without skipping a service, we knew it was coming. His voice had turned raspy long before I knew him, but there was never a doubt what the number was. Number 884, he would announce enthusiastically, and we would turn to that song, Teach Me, Lord, to Wait. And I would sing it, but I admit I didn't have the right attitude. I appreciated it, every word of the song, but I didn't like it because I remembered them and the 1.3 billion seconds. And like them, I had been on my knees, as the song says, pleading, asking, begging for relief, for hope, for guidance, for wisdom, for all of that. And sometimes I'm still waiting for an answer. And I'm afraid of those seconds that they had to wait on their knees and all the seconds that I'm still going to have to wait. It all happened after Joseph. At the end of Genesis, everything is great for God's people. Joseph had been at the right hand of Pharaoh and had led them through the famine. His brothers are in Egypt, and they're fruitful, and they multiplied, and they were mighty, and the land was filled with them. Exodus chapter 1, verse 7, everything was great until it wasn't. Verse 7 says that there arose a king who ruled over Egypt who did not know Joseph, and therefore did not know God. And things went downhill from there. You know the account. And they were enslaved, so they cried out to God for relief, for rescue. Chapter 2, verse 23. And the very next verse, verse 24, says that God heard their groanings and remembered his promise to Abraham and to Isaac and with Jacob. And enter Moses in chapter 3 and the long journey to the land God had promised. So when you read through there, those two verses, there are a lot of details missing that we find out about later, about 430 years of details. And most of them were in forced labor, making bricks, the harsh treatment there that went on, a lot of time, a lot of waiting, and a lot of prayer. Until chapter 12, verse 51, when the Lord brought the sons of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their hosts. Verse 41 of Exodus 12 tells us that it was 430 years that they lived in Egypt. Some years were good, for sure, but most of them were not. And that means that they prayed. They prayed a lot. And for a long time, they prayed for rescue for over 5,000 months, 22,000 weeks, over 156,000 days, and 370,000 hours, 226 million minutes, and over 1.3 billion seconds. Sound unbelievable? Or maybe I broke that down too far for you. But consider the text says that God heard their groanings. Sound familiar? This same account is repeated by Stephen in Acts chapter 7, verse 34 in his sermon. He quotes that verse, the groanings, and it's echoed again in Romans chapter 8, verse 26, when it says, but the Spirit maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. It's the same word. It's the same pain, groanings, that are too deep for words. A pain that's always on our lips, always in our hearts, year after year, month after month, day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute, and second by second, even 1.3 billion of them, while we wait on our knees. And they waited through each. As generations passed, they hoped, they prayed, and even when all seemed hopeless, they continued to wait, as we do when we groan, waiting, and learning. You know, that song leader has long since passed on. And after he passed, some of the song leaders kept up the tradition and would announce number 884 from time to time. And it became more and more rare that we would sing that song. So much that now I can't even recall the last time we sang it. But that song continues to reverberate in my brain. The words, "Teach me, Lord, to wait down on my knees, till in your own good time you answer my pleas. Teach me not to rely on what others do, but to wait in prayer for an answer from you." That's what I hear in my head. Thanks to him, thanks to that song, just as imperfect as he sang it, with a few additional words and his voice fading and cracking. I hear it. It's part of me now. And I admit I still hate it because I know what that means, to be taught to wait, to sit by the side of a child and hear the clock on the hospital wall in ICU tick, 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 seconds away, and watching for a sign of movement, or laying down on the bed with a dying parent, listening to each raspy breath, minute by minute, waiting for that breath to stop. And when it does, hoping for another. Or even those good times, waiting and watching the clock, wondering and anxiously looking for when I hear our grandchild has safely arrived. And there are so many more hours, so many more minutes and seconds that I know we have had to wait, hoping, wondering. And I don't want to walk through that kind of desert again, waiting, walking in circles, looking for relief. I don't want to be taught anything. I mean, really, I don't like waiting, the not knowing, the begging for a change, the begging for a different outcome, and what I believe is right or what I should have, what is best for us and our family. And yet still, I wait. But now, I wait with a little more understanding that I really don't know how much, and perhaps that's the best lesson of all, and it's what his learning is all about in the waiting, realizing that we really have little control over anything but ourselves, our behaviors, our actions, our decisions, and that control we don't have to wait for. And you know something, that's kind of a descriptor of God's servants, isn't it? When you think about it, God's servants wait, and we learn. Have you thought about that? Because we know that he always hears. The problem is not him. We know that. He is faithful and he never forgets, not even after 430 years. He never forgets. Because the problem's not him, but maybe so many of other things, and maybe even us. Because he needs to teach. Because the time is not right, maybe. Or maybe we still need to learn. Because the answer, I believe, I know, is always worth the wait. So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Exodus chapter 14, verses 30 through 31. And it is for this. It is for our praying, it is for our learning, and it is for our waiting that I bow my knees with you today.
We thank you for joining us today. We hope you have enjoyed this program. You can find out more about Bible Way Media by visiting us at biblewaymedia.org. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find all of our podcasts on all major podcast platforms. As always, we thank you for listening.